What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another family education and support group live here with Buckeye Recovery Network and myself, Parham. Looking forward to spending some time with you. So today is Saturday, February 25th, just so you know that it is live. And this is a completely interactive experience. So you'll soon see that people are going to pop up like Raiders House. What's up, Raiders House? Not sure who you are, but you can see how I can put the comments up. Might be Tony or something like that. But long story short, my name is Parham. I'm your weekly host of this family education support group where we cover various topics such as addictions, mental health, codependency, rebuilding trust, boundaries, emotion regulation, communication, and a little bit of everything in between. If you are here for the first time, welcome. I want to welcome you, and the community will welcome you with open arms. If you're here for the third year or fourth year consecutively, welcome back. There must be something you're finding in this channel that has you keep coming back. And if you're somewhere in between, welcome. So yeah, good to see everyone again. We got, just so you guys can see, for example, we got Jim, Alan, Oklahoma. Alan from Oklahoma. Jess, not sure where you're from actually, but welcome. Mr. Tony. We got Hossein. And yeah, I assume that Raiders House is you, Tony. I don't know that many Raider fans. Cataline from a beautiful part of the world. So you can see how I can pull up the comments from everybody. And Jess, she's from West Virginia. You might be the first West Virginia person we have here, Jess, but welcome and welcome back. So a couple things about myself as we wait for people to trickle on and come on board. Like I said, my name is Parham. I have a master's degree in marriage and family therapy. I am a licensed advanced alcohol and drug counselor. I'm also in recovery myself. So whether you're watching this from a person in recovery or a family member, I changed my life around June 13th of 2008. It's the day that I kind of decided that what I was doing in my life wasn't working for myself and those around me. And I decided to go on a different path to see where that path leads. And 14 and a half years later, here I am having a little, session with you guys. Bita, good morning. Mom and Dad, as always, good morning. So today I want to talk about something that is beneficial to all watching. So it doesn't matter if you are a family member watching this or if you're an individual that's trying to recover and heal from your own trauma and addiction journey. This is something in the lines of personal development, but it will also bleed into life, your personal goals, recovery goals, and a little combination of all of it. So it's a talk titled Winning is an Inside Job. And winning is a relative term because what winning to me is different from winning to you, and what winning to you is different to someone else. Let me just say hi to the Pacific Sands crew over there. What's up, everyone? Thanks for logging on and being a part of this. I know I see you guys a couple times a week, but it's good to also see you on a Saturday. So winning is a relative term. The definition of winning is completely open to interpretation. But the winning that I'm talking about here is looking at where your life is right now and looking to see where you want your life to go. And if there's a certain vision, if there's a certain goal, destination that you're trying to get to, whatever that is for you, the talk today is going to allow you to get there. Because oftentimes people have these ideas of who they are and where they want to go and what a successful life looks like for them. Yet despite of having that, they fail to actually get there. And there's reasons for it. So as I do every week, I pull up kind of what I'm going to be talking about. So I'm going to share 10 different elements needed to be able to win in your personal and professional life, whatever that may be. And the first element that I have is to take responsibility for your life. Now, this is, I think, the most powerful one that I could talk about the entire live stream today. And, they say the highest form of human development is an individual that understands that he is fully responsible for his life. So as you're watching this right now, I want you to know that the person sitting in the seat, listening to this talk right now, is fully responsible for their life and the quality of it. Now, I did this talk about an hour and a half ago for our program participants over at Buckeye Recovery Network. And for them, my direct words were, you are responsible for the fact that you're sitting in this chair right now listening to me talk. You are responsible for where your life currently is right now. And more importantly, you're definitely responsible for where it's going. And whenever I say that to anybody at any capacity, there's something that happens. And it happens to those who have had a tough life experience. Because there are things that happen to many human beings along this journey we call life that were not their fault. There are people that were supposed to be trustworthy that violated their trust. There are people that were supposed to support you that did not support you. Maybe you came from a home that was very, very broken or very, very toxic and abusive. Maybe you came from relationships that you are the recipient of psychological, emotional, physical, sexual abuse. Maybe you were a byproduct of a home environment that there was a lot of addiction or mental illness inside of it, and you're growing up in that world. Maybe you moved 1,000 times in your life, not at your own wishes. And when I say all those things, a person sitting in this end result called substance abuse treatment, or a family member sitting there with their loved one in some type of addiction process or mental health process going on, and they say, well, how am I responsible for all of those things that happened to me in my life? See, because society's confused something that I'm going to create a distinction on for you. Society has confused the word fault and the word responsibility. Okay? I will never, as a licensed counselor, as a therapist, I will never, ever tell somebody that what they experienced in life, especially as in childhood, adolescence, teenage years, young adulthood, I will never tell someone what you experienced in life was your fault when the environment was the one that was doing it to you. I will never say that to someone. I have more empathy and compassion to say, hey, that was your fault that happened to you. But here's the thing. Despite of what happened, how it happened, where it happened, the details of it, right now in this moment, you and only you and solely you are responsible for your healing and recovering from whatever it was that happened to you. And what happens in a lot of recovery rooms, you'll see and hear, maybe you've heard it from your loved ones, you'll hear people say, dude, you don't understand what I went through. You don't know what it was like to be raised by this mom or this dad, or raised in those neighborhoods, or you don't know what it was like to not ever have any stability in my life and to always walk on eggshells. You're right, I don't. But I do know this, that regardless of what happened to you, you are responsible for healing. And a lot of people have a hard time doing that. You know, as soon as their anxiety, depression comes on, instead of taking responsibility for those emotions, they start to project blame on other people. You weren't there for me. You didn't do this for me. You didn't do that for me. That is a person that has not yet found the key to winning in their life, which is taking full responsibility. And good morning, John. John, if you guys don't know, does a lot for our recovery community over here in our residences and our operations. Alan, let's see what you said here. We're only responsible for our own life. You can lead by example of an amazing life. You are, man. You're responsible for your own life. And Tony said, things may not be my fault, but I have to own it and not let that control my behavior. Absolutely, man. Like, a lot of things happen in life that aren't our fault, but we're still responsible for the leftovers. You know, the best analogy I can give you is two kids are outside. Yes, kids used to play outside, by the way. Two kids are outside playing baseball. One throws the ball, the other one hits it. The ball goes up, shatters the neighbor's window, right? And the neighbor comes on and knocks on the door and says, hey, your son, your daughter just shattered my window. It's not the parent's fault that the window got shattered, but guess who's responsible for it? Now, if you use that analogy in other areas in life, you will quickly realize the distinction between fault and responsibility. And I've had actually, one time I did this talk, well, this concept of this talk, not the whole talk, and I got a direct message sent to me. And someone said, I thought you were better than that, or I thought you were wiser than that, or I actually like listening to you until you said that I'm responsible for the things that happened to me in my life, and they named off a bunch of very traumatic abuses that happened to them when they were, 12, 13 years old. And mind you, this person at this point in their life was, let's just say, over 30 years old. And I quickly said, first of all, I have a lot of empathy and compassion for the fact that you went through that. No child, no human being should go through that experience. But now, as a 30-year-old struggling with addictions and mental illness, depression, the people that you want to come give you an apology will never come. The people that harmed you and hurt you 15, 20 years ago are not knocking on your door to come tell you, hey, you know what? 15, 20 years ago, I hurt you. I violated your trust. I'm just here to make it right. They will never come. How about that? The only option left is to take responsibility for the broken pieces that are left over by the results of other people. And with love, nurture, compassion, care, support, put them together. That's the only option left. And I don't know if that person ever understood that message. And I don't know if they ever internalized that message, or if they're still continuing to say that their life is messed up because of something that happened 15 years ago. To each their own. You know, I'll keep them in my thoughts, and I hope that they're able to seek responsibility one day. But taking responsibility for your life is the number one piece. Now, the second one that I have here is this concept called clean in and clean out. Now, what this means is we are a byproduct of what we choose to ingest, okay? What we choose to consume, what we choose to experience, surround ourselves with. And the cleaner we take in, the cleaner we're able to perform. Now, this can happen at various levels. The most basic level is, for example, the foods we consume. The foods we consume, the cleaner they are, the less ingredients they have, the less processed they are, the better this human body knows what to do with it, how to deal with it, how to digest it, and how to actually use it for fuel, for performance, for health, for optimization. But what we consume isn't just what we eat. What we consume is also what we listen to, is also the thoughts we have, is also what we see, what we look at. So if you are listening to low vibration conversations that are about just people and about just petty things, you will not be able to have conversations clean out that are of a higher vibration, that have impact, that have weight. If you're just sitting around binge watching some shows that are about, you know, the basic, like The Bachelor and Bachelorette, whatever you want to call those broken kind of shows that, you know, Narcos, learning about the whole narco traffico, stuff like that, you know, whatever that is. When you're consuming those things, when you're listening, watching those things, you can't all of a sudden see the beauty in life and relationships and all that kind of stuff. Because what we eat, what we hear, what we see is all what we consume. The cleaner we consume, the cleaner we perform. And when you're trying to win in your life and recovery, the environment is very important. Why do you think we take people out of their environment and put them in a structured environment for healing, for recovery? Why do we do that? Simple. Because they're able to change what they're being exposed to. They're able to change what they're able to see, hear, feel, and all that kind of stuff. So please know that today, be mindful and cautious of what you are consuming, what you're eating, what you're drinking, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're exposing yourself to, and who you are exposing yourself to. Because if you put all that stuff together, all of a sudden winning becomes a heck of a lot easier. And again, winning is defined by you. What is your definition of success? Tony said, taking responsibility is the glue that fixes the broken soul. That's deep. I like that, Tony. That's some good stuff right there. And Linford, I don't know if I know you, but this is good stuff. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you watching and leaving a comment for us. This is kind of what we do every week here, so you're always welcome back. Clean mind equals clean life. Loaded mind equals loaded life. Absolutely, Alan. Simple as that. And so the next concept I have here is something called listen to successful people. So when you are trying to achieve a goal that you have yet been able to achieve, okay, so you're trying to accomplish a task that you've never accomplished before. You're trying to do something in life that you've never done before. Well, you could try and error over and over again, and maybe you can inch your way closer to where you're trying to get to. But without having a blueprint, without having a map, a guide of how to do it, the odds of you stumbling and falling and giving up and becoming discouraged becomes extremely high. When you listen to successful people that have done what it is that you are trying to do, that have achieved what it is that you're trying to achieve, that have accomplished what it is that you're trying to accomplish, all of a sudden you're at an advantage because all of their experience, all of their trial and error, all of their what worked and didn't work can be applied to you to get there a heck of a lot sooner. If you're a family member watching this right now and you've done anything you possibly can to the best of your devices, to the best of your knowledge, you've done the best you could with the information that you had accessible to you at the time, and it didn't work. And now you continue to do the same thing. I'm telling you this, just stop it. Reach out to somebody who has done what it is you're trying to do when it comes to recovery. Reach out to someone who has done what you're trying to do when it comes to their own self-care and their own mental health, and just say, hey, I have no idea what I'm doing. Show a little humility. I don't know how to deal with this situation. It seems like you have dealt with this situation. It seems like you are at peace with what you are doing. Can you please tell me how to get to where you are at? If you are a person struggling with drugs and alcohol and you've tried 1,000 different ways of stopping, 1,000 different ways of changing your drug, changing the way you do it, when you do it, how you do it. If you've tried changing your playgrounds or your playmates and all that kind of stuff, and yet you're still unable to figure out the key to this life free from drugs and alcohol, listen to successful people who've done it. And here's the thing, then you're left with a choice. They're going to give you a bunch of knowledge and wisdom and experience and expertise. Are you going to listen? Are you going to take what it is that they're saying has led to their success? Or are you going to say, thank you for sharing, but I got this. I'm going to do it my way. Most people that try things their way are unable to be able to sustain it because they have no idea what they're doing. And some of it falls in ego. Some of it falls on pride. Some of it falls on closed-mindedness. Some of it falls on lack of trust. So at some point, in order to win in your personal, professional recovery life, you must listen to successful people. And again, when I'm talking about success, I hope by this point, for those of you who are new, you don't know, I'm not talking about people that are rich and people that know how to deal with, finances and markets. I'm talking about people that are happy, people that are content, people that are fulfilled, So let's see what Mr. Jim said here. My personal success over the last 19 years has been based on others' success and learning how they accomplish their goals and then incorporate what works for me. Thank you, Jim. So Jim is someone, he's had personal success, but also I could vouch for his professional success because I've known this gentleman for many years right now, 7 years to be exact. And I could tell you this, that he practices what he preaches, and he really does surround himself with the right environment, like genuinely surrounds himself with the right environment, because he knows that without that environment, we are a product of our environment. So you remove the environment, then all of a sudden we're left to our own devices. And 19 years later, Jim can hang with that for a little bit. Jim can hang with that for maybe a year or two. But a year or two away from the right environment, the worst of us can come out. And then let's see what Mr. Allen said right here. I took everything I learned from Pacific Sands Recovery Center, Buckeye Recovery Network, and others, and applied it to my daily life, and it's life-changing without a doubt. Thanks to everyone in my journey in recovery. Obviously I wasn't going to bust Alan's anonymity. He chose to do it right here. Alan is someone that came from another state, hadn't been out of that state, and comes out here from Oklahoma and really in a place in his life that he was just willing to receive and desperate to receive and really want to change his life around. He completed, residential programming at the facility that he named off right there. And some of, the talks that myself and some of the staff do. And he's been able to sustain it after going home. See, I believe that we can always go home, but when we go home, the talk I had with Alan is you can't go back to the same environment. You have to create a new environment. You can't go hang out with the same people. You have to connect with new people. You can't go back to the same routines. You have to create new routines, because when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. That includes your hometown. Tony listens to successful people like Jim, that's who he listens to. And beautiful plants can't grow in the rocks. That's for sure. The best thing I can say about that is please know that human beings, we are a part of nature. I'm not a hippie. I'm not like, one of those kind of guys. I just believe that we are a part of nature. We are living, breathing organisms. Therefore, none of the laws and rules that apply to plants are excluded from human beings. Whatever works for nature also works for a human being. So the way a plant needs specific things, like this nice plant that I have in my house over here, this guy, he needs certain things. I don't have a name for him yet. Maybe you guys can help me. In order for it to thrive, so does this plant right here. We're just very complex. We got these beautiful minds and these ways that we think and the ways that we can explore situations. So learn from nature, my friends. Learn from it. The next one that I have here is the play and pay principle. Now, this is something that some of you have heard, most of you haven't. So life is a very interesting journey and a very interesting ride, okay? And in this journey of life, we get to do and we have to do both of those things, okay? So some of you in life are choosing to play right now. Play means not take responsibility for your life. Play means be committed to comfort. Play means not level up your skill set. Play means to just kind of exist rather than live. It's just a form of kind of going through the motions. And if you want to play, that is your choice. That's the beauty of life. If somebody says, you know what, I just want to play, that's okay. Well, guess what? This principle says that at some point in your life, you will have to pay. You would have to pay the cost associated to the play. There's no free lunches in this thing called life. If you choose to play right now, at some point in life, you will have to pay. If you choose to not take care of your mind, your body, your spirit, at some point in your life, you will have to pay from your mind, your body, and spirit. What's up, Tiffany? I just wanted to say hi. Since you said hi, welcome to this group. Grateful to have you here and looking forward to any type of participation questions you have. Feel free to ask. So some people in life choose to pay right now. They choose to look inside and take responsibility. They choose to change their habits and routines that are preventing them from being able to achieve their goals. They choose to surround themselves with people that might not be the funnest people doing the funnest things, but they're the people that are doing the wisest things and the best things for long term. Some people are paying the price of taking care of their physical body and watching what they consume. And guess what? Those individuals, later on at some point in life, they get to play. They get to play when everybody else has to pay for the previous play, if that makes sense. It's the most easy way to put this analogy into something tangible is, let's say that you get this credit card that all of a sudden gets arrived to your house that says, hey, you have $500,000 worth of credit. And you're like, wow, $500,000 worth of credit. That's a lot of credit. This is great. And you go out and you start buying a nice car, and you go out and you start buying nice clothes, and you go out and you start booking some vacations for yourself, and you go and you start eating things that you normally wouldn't eat and spending ways you wouldn't spend. And you start doing all that and you're like, man, life is good. I'm living the dream. This is some good stuff. Until the credit card bill comes. And then you're like, oh my God, how am I going to pay for all this? What did I do? What did I do? What did I do? How did I put myself in this situation? And there's other people that pay and they pay and they pay through their time, their energy, their effort, their mindset, their connections. And when it's their time to play, they can go play with peace of mind. They put their head on the pillow knowing that they could do whatever they want the next day. And that is the goal here. So recovery is the same way, by the way. Some people, family members and individuals going through the recovery process, they get into recovery and they say, you know what? I'm just gonna kick back and relax right now. I need a little break from my life. I just need a little bit of a retune. I just need a little bit of just some space for me to be able to breathe. I'm just gonna relax. And don't get me wrong, in the initial stages, relaxation, rest is very important. But 30, 60, 90 days later, if you're just playing still and you haven't started paying yet, then you're going to have to pay at some point in the near future. And by the way, when that payment comes for people, because they don't have the psychological and emotional muscles that get strengthened through daily discipline, all of a sudden they get overwhelmed and they go right back to the drink or right back to the drug. Or if you're a family member and you never worked on your communication, your trust, your boundaries with your loved one, and you're just kind of relaxing because they're in treatment, all of a sudden when they spiral, and they will, that's just what people do, and people with substance abuse disorders and addictions and mental illnesses, they spiral. I mean, it's just what's going to happen. And then all of a sudden you are unable, because you didn't have the discipline to work on your communication, your trust, your self-care, your boundaries. All of a sudden they got you again. You do something that you've done in the past and you're like, how did I get here again? Well, I could tell you, because you were just playing. You never stopped to start paying. Life's bill always comes due. Yep. Some people say, trying, it's too hard to try in life. It's too hard to try in life. It's too much effort, too much fear, too much risk. And at the end of the world, they give you the little bill for trying, and you're like, wow, that's heavy. Wait till they give you the bill for not trying. The bill for not trying is something that will give you sticker shock value that you might vomit when you see it when that day comes. So I hope that at least you try. So the next one that I have here is plan and prioritize. So if you are trying to win in your life, whether that's personal, recovery, professional, or just life in general, relationships, you have to plan and prioritize. First of all, why is this so important? Because in this day and age, we get pulled to more directions than we have ever been pulled in our life. Because we're hyper connected, we're hyper distracted, and our emotion regulation is very, very sensitive because of all these different pulls. We can go like this in one day. Easily we can go like that in one day. And I'm not talking about mental illness such as bipolar. I'm talking about just a healthy mind can go like this in one day because of all of the stimuli that we get exposed to. So we must get ahead of that. Knowing that that's the life we live, knowing that that's the way our society is shaped, it is our responsibility to plan for that. Plan for the ups and downs of life, not just wait back and say, oh my God, it's so crazy. So you must plan. And when we plan, the most important part of planning is what? Prioritization. Because you could plan a bunch of things and there's so many options that you're like, okay, this is overwhelming. There's so many things I have to do. Well, start to prioritize the necessities and what's important. And whatever does not meet or match your priorities, it's a non-factor. There's research, it's called the 80-20 law. For example, if you have 10 things on a list to do, they believe that 20% of that list can produce 80% of relief for an individual. So let's say there's 10 things you have to get done, but 2 of them are really important. Put those 2 on the top of the list and make sure you accomplish those 2. When you accomplish those 2, the rest of it feels much lighter. So 20% of what we have to do can take up for 80% of our bandwidth, our energy, our thoughts. And the other thing about planning and prioritizing, as some of you know, I truly believe in a certain lifestyle called minimalism. Now, ever since I've gotten into pickleball, I've lost it a little bit with like paddles and shoes and stuff like that because I'm trying to find the right one. But outside of that, I believe and I subscribe to this thing called minimalism. And one of the key concepts of minimalism says it's not by adding to our life that we can get what we want to get or achieve what we want to achieve. We already have what we need. The most important part is by subtracting from our life. So it's called addition by subtracting. So if you look at your life and say, hey, what can I remove from my life? Who can I remove from my life? How can I remove it from my life in order to focus on the things that are important? In order to focus on the people that are important, in order to focus on what is important to me. So sometimes taking away, subtracting from life is more important than adding to life. And that maybe that could be a homework assignment for some of you to find out what you need to remove from your life. What type of time do you commit to television that you might need to remove from your life? What type of dietary habits do you need to remove from your life? What type of toxic people and conversations do you need to remove from your life? And when you remove those things, what's left over is a heck of a lot easier to plan and prioritize because you got rid of the stuff that's holding you back. Okay. Minimalism is freeing. A shout out to minimalism. There you go, Eileen. That's cool. It is freeing. There's different levels of minimalism. And if you ever get inspired to go, check it out and see what it's all about, there's a couple documentaries out there. There's a really cool podcast, The Minimalist, that I listen to. It's pretty sweet, but it is freeing. And it's not something that like New Age has come around with. The Buddhist mentality from thousands of years ago also preaches a lot of this stuff when they talk about the power of letting go, letting go of attachments, letting go of people, places, things that don't serve us. You want to hold on to what's valuable. You want to hold on to who's valuable. You want to hold on to your values and your beliefs and what makes you you. But you want to let go of all the other garbage. The consumerism world that we're all locked up in, man, you got to let go of all that stuff because, well, I don't want to say that. If you choose to go get something you don't have that makes you happy, feel free to do so. However, I need you to know this as a licensed therapist that can back this up by data and research, what I'm about to say, that by getting something we don't have, we don't become much more happier long-term. Outside of a momentary spike in happiness, getting something you don't have doesn't achieve or sustain happiness. This has been proven. The easiest way to see that is someone gets a new car. You ever see a guy or a girl in a new car lot? They're getting their new car. They're taking pictures with it. They're sending it to their families. They're so happy. They're like, oh my God, I finally got it. That same car, 6 months down the line, a year down the line, has accumulated dirt and hasn't been washed. And all of a sudden, it's just a piece of metal to that person. Swear to God, it happens all the time. If you ever walk by a person that says, wash me on the back of their car, that wouldn't have been there the day they bought that thing off the lot. And it's the same for a lot of stuff, but there we go. Look at that. Marina Harbor Detox in the house. Minimalism helps us focus on what's important. It really does. And especially when you are in early stages of recovery, my friends, the most important thing you can do is find out what's important to you and leave the rest. And I know that means sometimes there's certain relationships that you might not want to let go of. There's certain habits, people, lifestyles you don't want to let go of. But what if I told you that's the only way to be able to sustain this thing, at least in the beginning? Are you willing to make that sacrifice? So Marina Harbor Detox, I want you guys to hear this quote. This is an important quote, at least I believe, that your new life is going to cost you your old life. Are you willing to pay that price? Some of you are, and some of you aren't. It's none of my business which one you fall into. Whether you choose to embrace a new life or you don't want to let go to your old life, that's none of my business. Just know that you can't have both. And when you're a younger adult, I don't know the age demographics there or anything like that. It's really hard when someone is like from 18 to 25 because their life is all they know. Their friends are all they know. Their lifestyle is all they know. So when you tell them your new life is going to cost you your old life, for them, it's like a death. It's like a grieving process of like, what do you mean? But what if I told you that probably is the only way? And I know there's always one or two people that says, you know what, I'm going to still do everything I did in the past and prove this guy wrong. Feel free. If you need that motivation to prove me wrong, do it. But my personal and professional experience tells me that's a recipe for disaster. Okay. Yes, TikTok. TikTok, I don't have a TikTok. I don't use TikTok, but I use Instagram, for example. So they have some of the same stuff on it. It just like anything else, it's a tool. Okay. It's a tool that can be used. I mean, I've seen some really high level talks for people that I look up to, like little clips of them saying something that's just profound and really transforms my thought process. Or you can watch people, do stupid things and dance and all that kind of stuff. So just like anything else, there's a choice on those things. But TikTok is smarter than us. The algorithm's smarter than us. Their whole entire goal is to get your attention for as long as possible. And they know what kind of things get our attention. And that's the whole algorithm. Because if you think about it, apps like TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, none of you, unless you have a business or something, you're not paying to use those. There is no money for that service. You don't pay TikTok a monthly membership to use their app. You don't pay Facebook a monthly membership to use their app. You don't pay Instagram to pay your app. So what are you paying? Do you really think those multi-billion-dollar organizations don't take payment? Oh, they're getting paid. They're getting paid in something called human attention span. The currency that you're trading to them is your presence and your attention span. And then you got to decide, how much is that worth to you? How much is that worth to you? I try to keep my screen time on a phone to a minimal. And it's because my presence and my attention span is worth it to me. So don't worry, Bita. You could use things like TikTok in a positive way. But if you catch yourself using it in a way that's just distracting and mindless and numb and just kind of doesn't add any value, you can even use it for a little entertainment. But it's got to be limited, because your attention span should be more important than that entertainment. Okay. Hopefully that made sense. The next one that I have here, I think I'm talking too much. Okay. The next one, deliver on your promise. So each of you have made a promise to yourself at some point in your life. You've made promises to other people at some point in your life. You have goals, thoughts, dreams, aspirations. Even for those of you who are struggling with addictions, you're like, I don't have any of that stuff anymore. I don't even care anymore. You're resigned. Maybe in this state you are, but if you close your eyes and go back a few moments in your life, you'll quickly be able to see that you actually did have hopes, dreams, aspirations, goals. The only reason you're not connected to them right now is because you use substances in the middle and it disconnected that connection. Once it gets reconnected, you'll be back. It might take a little bit, but it'll be back. And the most important part of success, the bookends of success are starting something and finishing something. Most people in the world can start something, but not many people finish what they start, let alone finish it with integrity and all the way through to the end. And I believe that one of the goals of treatment is that it allows the treatment participant to be able to finish something. And don't get me wrong, there's no graduation from substance abuse. Okay. So there's no like, you go to a treatment center and you graduate, then you're all done. You kick back and relax. I mean, that's where the work starts. But in terms of starting something and finishing something like a program, there is value to that. Or starting the steps from step 1 and working all the way through step 12 and continuing to apply that on a daily basis, there's value to that. People like Tony and Jim and the counselors on this call, they know that majority of people do like this 1, 2, 3 shuffle, first step, second step, third step. And then they kind of go back out again. Like the amount of people that finish the steps all the way through, actually, it's not as many as you think they are. There just isn't. People, they'll do the steps, they'll work the steps, but to start it and finish it and then take someone else through it, I mean, it's not, the statistics are really not there. So going to treatment and starting something and finishing it is a really valuable thing, because for the program participant, it might be the first time they've ever finished something in years. We have people in our program sometimes that don't even have their high school diplomas because of their addiction or their toxic home life or something like that, or just their mental illness struggles. And finishing a substance abuse program might be the first thing they finished in a long time. When they finish something, right? When they finish something for the first time in a long time, it creates the psychological and emotional muscles to be able to finish the next thing, to finish the next one and the next one and the next one. And that's what we need. We need to finish the things we start. So the most important promise is the promise to self. And then you go from there. And definitely no finish lines in recovery. So there is no finish line or graduation in recovery, because we're always recovering at all times. Jim with his 19 years, Tony with his 15 years, me with my 14 years. We're all still in recovery, just like the person that's working it from the beginning right now. We're all doing this thing on a daily basis. And when we finish goals, let's put it that way, those goals, they start to accumulate into bigger goals, longer goals, more long-term goals. And that's where it happens. So Can't win the race. What did you say, Tony? Can't win the race if you don't go through all the turns. Damn right. Even the turns we don't want to go to, even the blind twists and turns, even the turn that wasn't there in the beginning of the race, and some race organizer just randomly added a turn into it, and we're like, what the hell is this? This wasn't there. Those are the most important turns, right? The blind twists and turns of the thing called life. So the next one that we have here is perfectionism will kick your ass. Oh, I try not to say that word because I think that throws the algorithm off. Perfectionism will kick your A, finish the rest. Sorry about that. So there's a quote that I love that helps me in my life as we'll call it a recovering perfectionist. I'm still a perfectionist, but there's this quote that really helped me. And it says that perfect is the enemy of good enough. Perfect is the enemy of good enough. And oftentimes good enough is good enough. Oftentimes good enough is good enough. If you are trying to go through this thing called recovery perfectly, if you are trying to go through this thing called life perfectly, if you are trying to go through relationships, especially a new relationship perfectly, you will be greatly disappointed because there is no such thing. It's not even something you strive for. I don't think anyone should strive for perfection. You just strive for the best that you could possibly do. So when you look at yourself in the mirror, you say, you know what? I gave it my all. Wherever that lands on the perfect spectrum, I'm okay with it. There's a book, it's a recovery-based book called The Spirituality of Imperfection. That helped me in my recovery. If anybody struggles with perfectionism, it's a good read on the spiritual side of things, but it's a good read. And the goal is to just realize that good enough is good enough, right? Good enough is good enough. The next one that we have here, there's only a few left. Learn from your mistakes. God, I wish people always wonder why a lesson continues to repeat itself. Have you ever thought it's less about the lesson, more about you? I like saying direct things to people sometimes. People think that, why does this keep happening to me? Why does this keep happening to me? What's going on here, But one is external and we have no control over, and one is internal. See, there is a famous quote that's not mine that says the lesson continues to repeat itself until the student learns the lesson. Once you learn the lesson, it changes the entire outcome. And that's up to you. That's up to you. If you don't learn the lesson, it's going to show up again. Once you learn, let's say in school, you don't know that 2 + 2 = 4. Once the teacher tells you 2 + 2 = 4 and you internalize it, you know that 2 + 2 = 4. You're probably not going to make that mistake again. Or once you grab a piece of, a knife and you cut something and you were careless and it cuts off your finger or chops something off and it's gushing blood, I have a good feeling that the next time you chop something, your finger is going to be, you're really very mindful of your finger. You're going to be cutting more strategically. You're not going to be so careless and reckless. And if not, it'll probably cut your finger again. Life in all its different forms, recovery in all its different forms is the same way, my friends. There are certain things that happen as a byproduct of what we are doing or not doing that are causing those outcomes. They cause those outcomes. And the day you realize that you can do something about it to prevent it from happening. And yes, by the way, learning from our mistakes is a chance for growth. Learning from our mistakes is very valuable. But I know people that have made the same mistake 1,000 times. There is no value in that anymore. There really isn't. I promise you this. Once something happens 3 times and you're choosing not to learn from it, that the 4th time, the 5th time, the 6th time, the 7th time, the 10th time it happens, there's no value in that repeated mistake. There isn't. All you're doing is just showing your stubbornness, your inability to change, your resistance to change, your closed-mindedness, your selfishness. And I do love my mistakes. I've learned the most from the mistakes I've made, but the ones that were really valuable, I don't make them anymore. You just learn from it. What's this? If it hurts when you do that, God, Jim just simplifies everything I say. That's the difference between like a narrative storyteller, like whatever the hell personality I am, versus like Jim who keeps it simple. Pretty much what I just shared in the past like 7 minutes about mistakes was, if it hurts when you do it, quit doing that. I know, man. Thank you, Jim. Thank you for your simplicity. Hossein said making mistakes is a part of life and normal, but making the same mistake is not. Making the same mistake a couple times is okay, because what happens is in the mind of the person making the mistake, they've changed a few things, but it's led to the same outcome. And they need to sometimes realize that by changing certain things, you're not really changing anything. And I think that's like a part of the mistake. So maybe it's like one prolonged mistake. But yeah, making the same mistake once you already have the solutions given to you, once you already have the support provided to you, once you already have the knowledge from the previous mistake learned through experience, then making the same mistake again is not like, it's just, it becomes a problem. So I don't want to say one and done, because most people need more than one time to get it. But, 2 times, 3 times, I'll give that. Outside of that, there's no effort being made. Not learning from a mistake makes many times is, it's just so doing the same thing, expecting different results. Insanity, Alan, for sure. Let's see what we have here. I think I got 2 more. Thank you for bearing with me. So do what you love. I hope that everybody watching this talk right now, whether you are a person going through addictions or a family member, or even both, you could be going through addictions and be a family member of someone else going through addictions. I hope that somehow you're able to do the things you love in your life. I really hope so. Because if you go through this thing called life, constantly doing the things you don't want to do, going to the places you don't want to go, being with the person you don't want to be, living the life you don't want to live, it will start to suck and eat your soul out of your body. You will start to experience depression. You will start to experience low motivation. You will start to experience lack of passion. You will start to experience almost like a robotic, out of body feeling of just watching yourself go through this thing called life. But as soon as you do something you love, the passion wakes up. As soon as you do something you love, the smile starts to show up on the face. As soon as you start doing something you love, your energy, your vibration, your connection to other people starts to increase. And some people say, well, hey, I got bills, I got a life, I got this. I can't just do the things I love. Yes, you can. Doing the things you love doesn't take 24 hours of your day. Doing the things you love takes a few hours of your day, a few hours of your week. That's it. But people think that it's all or nothing. Either I have to do this in order to survive in this thing called life, or I could just do the things I love and not know what's going to happen to me. That's a story and a narrative you got to change. You can do both. The ultimate, the apex of this is making what you love become your paycheck. If you can do what you love and love what you do, you never have to work a day in your life. If you can do that, if you can grasp something you love and do that and also make money doing it or get fulfillment from doing it, mental health problems will go away. I have yet to meet one person. I know a lot of people, my friends, in different high-level executives down to people that just they're low-level kind of grinders and workers and people that use their hands and all that kind of stuff, and they build beautiful things. I know them all, right? The techie nerd people that make way too much money, the sales guys that are on the phone 24 hours a day, the people that, work in treatment centers, the people that work in academia and schools, I know them all. The common denominator of all of them that are truly happy is not the amount of money they make. I know some miserable rich people, is the ones that do the things they love. Do the things they love, man. I hope this strikes you somehow and you're able to do things you love. And for those of you who don't know what it is you love, just keep it. Just keep trying. Just keep searching. As soon as you do something that you lose track of time, as soon as you do something that you stop thinking about yourself, as soon as you do something that afterwards, no matter how long you did it, you feel good, like your energy's still there, and you light up when you talk about it, as soon as you experience it one time, you're going to get to know the power of what I'm saying right now. Most people spend their entire life wishing they did the things they loved. And I hope that's not you. Do the things that will take you to the place of doing what you love. Absolutely. It's a process, right? So sometimes if you don't know what it is that you love, sometimes by getting into action, heading in the right direction, you're able to get the certain outcome she's talking about. Jim does love his employment. I do know that. Do what you love or suffer doing what you do. Absolutely, man. Good stuff, Alan. The last one I have, it goes to the first one. Don't make excuses. So I just spent about 50 minutes telling you that if you want to win in your life, if you want to succeed in your life, if you want to go from where you are to where you want to be, what I outlined in this talk is how you're going to get there. I put it flat out there for you. And as I'm saying these things, I know the way human psychology and the human brain works. Some of you are thinking, oh yeah, this guy's that's not for me. He doesn't know what kind of stuff I got going on right now. He doesn't know the type of struggles I got or what I have to deal with in my life. He doesn't get all that stuff. Do what you love. I'm barely surviving. If I don't work 2 jobs and do this and that, I can't even put food on the table. I get all that. Despite of that, I gave you the knowledge and the information and the tools and the elements to be able to win in your life. Now you got to see that what is it inside you that as soon as the solution is provided to you, instead of taking the solution and using it, you combat it and rebut it with excuses of why you can't. Why you can't. And when it comes to recovery with substance abuse, people who make excuses, it's not the fact that they have a hard time staying clean and sober. I believe it's like almost a pathway to something even worse, something bad happening with addictions. Because what happens, a person that makes excuses is justified in those excuses. They can rationalize them. They can use them for fuel. They can use them for fury. And it oftentimes leads to really, really bad events. And if you're a family member right now, and you're watching this and I'm saying all these things to you and you're like, I don't even know why this guy's talking about this stuff. I'm not even doing any of this for myself. It's all for my loved one. It's all for them. As long as, how many parents tell me this? As long as my kid's okay, I'll be okay. Really? Like, is that it? That's all that you've turned into as a human being, right? That is your own person that had goals, dreams, aspirations, hopes, fulfillment, that it's all been minimized to as long as this one person in the world is healthy and okay, I'll be okay. I want you to know that that's not a healthy mindset. I get what you're saying. You love your loved ones so much that their health, that their mental health, that their safety is the most important thing to you in this moment. I get that. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, you can't run something like that by me and not expect me to kind of confront it. That as long as my kid's okay, I'll be okay. That's not the way it works. You got to be okay, regardless of what happens to your kid. You got to be okay no matter which direction they go to. And if you're not okay with that, that's something for you to work on. Don't make excuses. Take responsibility for your own recovery, no matter where you fall in it. Apply these things, and hopefully you can start winning in your life, in your recovery, in your life. And this was cool. It's I appreciated it. I enjoyed it. I was pretty passionate today. I think I was feeling good. So I will not be back next week. So next week is off, but then it's good for the rest of the year, at least for the next 3-4 months. There's no conflicts. So I won't see you next week, March 4th, but I'll be back March 11th. And that's all I got for today. So you're all very welcome. Feel free to share this video with anybody, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook, or just send it as a link to someone in a text message. It's good stuff for most people. And I appreciate the gift of listening you gave me. Love and appreciate all of you. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye, everyone.